Hi, I'm Chris from Airwindows, and this is another Forbidden Music. And I am fortunate enough to have gotten some new Forbidden Music for you, because one of the classic Forbidden Music bands is, of course, AC/DC. Well, this is their first record. So we get to hear AC/DC, or kind of sort of hear AC/DC, way before they were working with Mutt Lange. So the neat thing about that is AC/DC were not sitting around wondering what to do until they got to touch base with Mutt Lange and be like, oh, make us platinum superstars. These guys had production already. They came out of Australia and they were working with Vanda and Young. Their production says Vanda and Young for Albert Productions at Albert Studios, Sydney, Australia. They didn't need some South African or Brit or American to tell them what to do. These guys had been figuring out production since Vanda and Young were doing the Easy Beats and Friday on My Mind. And they knew what they were doing. So the AC/DC sound was not invented by Mutt Lange. Mutt Lange had the gift of being a studio professional who could hear any sound and imitate it or do his version of it. So he was able to hear the AC/DC sound from their previous records and go, this is what I would do with this to make it be radio friendly. Funny thing about that, AC/DC sound was to some extent too aggressive to be radio friendly, but it's still a hit record sound. Perhaps to some extent even more of a hit record sound than the Mutt Lange sound that made him a lot of money. And that's because the Mutt Lange sound, being more produced, more open, fuller, sort of detail in the right places, it's more corporate rock in a lot of ways. It is more radio friendly. But the raw sound these guys produce has a lot going for it. And Vanda and Young, and that's their older brother, Malcolm and Angus Young are the guitar players in this band. But their older brother was in the Easy Beats and had hit record experience already. And so their work for record after record was working with their family, with the hit record experience, to try to make the most hardcore rock music that they possibly ever could. And the track that I'm playing you is on the verge of hitting the highest possible score in meter in every possible way. I would try it at different times and get slightly different scores out of it, because that's always when it optimizes to that point, it becomes a little twitchy. But the gist of it is all of these sounds are brought to their fullest possible extent. And that includes the singer. This is obviously not. This is Angus. Singer being Bon Scott, who was older and taller and had been working as a lounge act kind of singer and was just so fed up with all of that and wanted to be in a rock band, be extremely lewd, nasty, noisy, aggressive, and he wanted to be AC/DC's singer. Well, he wanted to be their drummer, but they had a better drummer in Phil Rudd. And so he ended up being their singer. And still always wanted to be their drummer. But that is a useful thing. Much like if you have, like with Foo Fighters, you have a drummer who wants to be a guitar player. He's likely to be producing rhythm guitar parts that have some solidity to them. Well, in this case, we've got a singer who wanted to be the drummer. So he's kind of trying to show the drummer that he is so solid that he could really be doing the drummer's job. And the drummer is going, no, you can't. And being Phil Rudd. They've got Mark Evans on bass. He didn't end up being there for the Mutt Lange incarnation of the band, but at least I don't believe I remember him being there. But this band produces a very finely tuned rock sound, and the track I'm showing is The Jack, which is the third track off of the first side, so it would be the third song that you heard. This was its own kind of hit song, in that they would be bringing the house down with it in concert. It played very well in concert. And there was another choice that I could have picked along the similar lines, and maybe I will do that one later, because this one is just a sort of very beefy, you could even think like ZZ Top style boogie that just ramps and ramps up in intensity. Even with the little snippets that you can hear through ContentID, you can probably hear what makes Bon Scott special as a singer. There is a conviction and a attitude that comes through even tiny snippets of his sound, and that really reaches out off of the record. The other one I was thinking of was a track called Dog Eat Dog off of the Let There Be Rock album. And the reason I was thinking of that one, although I didn't end up choosing it, is because that track comes off like Mutt Lange era AC/DC before it happened. In fact, that was one, if I'm not mistaken, that's the album that Mutt Lange was like, I wish I had done that album. That's the album I wish I had been there. I wish I had had my hands on that album. And you can see why, because it makes a sound that is very characteristic of what Mutt Lange tries to make happen. This, however, this is kind of earlier. It's rawer. It's the kind of sound that they felt they drifted too far away from when they started working with Mutt Lange and getting that more produced radio-friendly sound. It's kind of, I can also use George Thorogood and the Delaware Destroyers as a reference point for the kind of sound that this is. But yeah, AC/DC's first album, High Voltage, although this is the international release, this isn't the Australian. I would love to get my hands on the Australian pressing, but it's different songs and it's much harder to find, I should imagine. And yeah, this one at least I've got. And this is sort of the birth of this sound, which ended up being enormously hit record style sound. And it's one of the formative things in this genre. So check it out. By the way, it's about venereal disease, but I probably won't have to explain that to you. The Jack.
She gave me the king dealing. She, but I had her deuce was high. How was I to with before? House. The tattoo on her, on her to bring me down. The Jack, the Jack, Jack. She's got the Jack.
poker face with her straight with a game. Get ya. And she played. She could close her delivery car. How was I done for? But I had all the cards of the pack. She was dealing out. She's got the jack. Else, she's got the jack. Got the jack. She jack. She's got the jack. She's got. It was a bad deal. Gave me the jack. Jack. Can you tell